to the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. This is your host, ScottyB. Follow here on YouTube for weekly videos on cosplay fandoms, interviews, tips on how to build your cosplay brand, and of course, always a safe space for you to share your stories and what motivates you to stay active within the community and contribute to our cause to bring cosplayers together in this space that is a lot to digest. Of course, with me this week on the show, the very entertaining and inspiring Astrovoid Cosplay. Hello, Astra.
Hello. I love that little intros that you always give me. They're always so they're so much nicer than I am. It reminds me of that John Mulaney skit, where he's like, I love playing in venues that are so much nicer than what I'm about to do. It's always funny to see what you come up with. But it's always a pleasure. Very excited to be here.
Well, and it's the challenge too, because you said that someday I'm going to run out of two adjectives to describe Astrovoid. I'm
Someday.
like, no, I will never run out. I will just make up crazier and crazier things as time goes on. That's all. We talk about how cosplay is for everybody, but what we don't talk about is like what's hard to do. What's the hard stuff in cosplay? So really, it's just a question. What's the hardest thing to do in cosplay? What you really get frustrated about? What really causes headaches? And is it really even related to the cosplay? That's something that I thought about too, is like, maybe cosplay really is for everybody, but keeping up with posting all of it might be the hard part.
I think it definitely depends on the person. Me personally, I think the hardest thing has been the people and navigating it. Because you have, I'm going to say something spicy and controversial here, but you have people who are purists who believe that you should only build cosplay, and if you buy it, you're not really a cosplayer. And then you have people who are elitists who are like, well, I'm better than you, and I'm better than this, and I have this many followers, and and then you have people who are gatekeepy, who are like, oh, well, that stitch is out of place, and that's the wrong color, and that's not the right body type, and all those things. And you have people who just are gonna, I feel like, tear you down no matter what. You're always gonna have rifts and divides, and I've found that in every hobby, every subculture, everything, there's always little divisions. It's kind of like Divergent. There's like little tiny factions, and they all go in their little places. You have people who really like Photoshop. That might be considered digital art and not cosplay, but that might be another argument for another time. You have people who really like to build. You have people who like to buy. You have people who like to buy and modify. People who like to do closet cosplays. And all of them, aside from the one that I said we could argue on, but all of them for the most part are still cosplay. They're just different types. And at the end of the day, I was arguing this before recently, but I'm not sure when cosplay became anything other than honoring a character that you love and are passionate about and having fun. Lately, it's turned into people chasing fame, people chasing clout, people, just completely going off the rails in the wrong direction, at least in my opinion. It's one thing if you're entering in a competition. Completely understand that. That's why you have the levels: novice, intermediate, professional, etc., right? Because for anybody who knows me, when I started with a store-bought Gamora cosplay, which I modified, and I also did all of my own makeup and my own hair, like all of it. So for me, because that was the thing that I was good at, that was how I started.
And you won awards.
And I did win awards, yes. And, if it hadn't been for the people who encouraged me, if I met some of the people that I meet now, I don't think I would have ever continued or even joined in the first place. Because there's some real a-holes out there who just are so mean and are just, I get questions all the time from people who are like, I don't know how to start, or I don't know where to start, or I'm scared to start. And at first I was like, you have no reason to be scared. Everybody's great. And then as I started to kind of meet new people, I started realizing, yeah, I see why you're scared. Like people are cutthroat, and it's ridiculous.
Yep. And there's a lot of bait and switching that goes on inside the community with new cosplayers. Even if, like, it's like if you haven't been around for a few years and you don't know the block, there's just like a group of people who kind of descend on new people, see what they can get. Yeah.
They just prey on them, and it's really sad. And you have like, I feel like I said factions. You have like little troops, little war zones, and they're all separate, and they all, have their beefs or they have their issues, or, and I just feel like it's evolved from having fun and honoring the things that you love and are passionate about to this weird like fame chase. And it's just, I don't know when people decided to let their egos take over those things, and when people decided that, they're cooler than they are. I always say this to people, like, we're all nerds. I don't know if you know this, but we are dressing up as comic book characters and we are running around in costumes. So, nope, you're not better than me. I'm not better than you. Nobody's better than anyone else.
Yes, and we're doing it without a contract.
It's
So
it's all like it's funny how, we made this community out of outcasts, out of nerds, out of people who were shunned. And now we've become those people. And some of us have made this hierarchy, and now you have outcasts of the outcasts. And it's like, man, what are you doing? Like, we should all be best friends. Why do we hate each other? Just because, yeah, sure, maybe don't let somebody who bought a costume compete with you who made a giant thing. Understandable. But to say that's not cosplay, that's dude, like, you don't know someone's situation. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they don't have all the materials, because let me tell you, the equipment, the materials are really expensive.
yeah,
You might not have the
some
space
things are
for it
really hard
either.
to find. Yeah.
I had to change a whole room in my house to a craft room. I didn't have space. People don't have that option. And for some people, they don't have the time to build costumes either. So it depends. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're learning. But to say that, buying costumes and cosplay, there's nothing that will piss me off or get me heated more than telling someone that what they're doing isn't good enough. Like, because, for people, if anyone's watching it that feels that way, where did you start? Did you start and you just magically knew what you were doing and you just magically had everything and you just were amazing and you built these giant, no, of course you didn't. I think that's a diamond. I think that there's a very few people in the world who can do that. Not saying it doesn't exist, because I'm sure it does, but for the most part, right? Like, these people, the hardest thing in cosplay, Scotty, I feel like for most people, is staying humble and remembering where you came from. Like, again, you are a nerd. You, in any capacity, if you do this, you have to be. And you can't tell me that, whether you're societally hot or you're attractive or you're this or you're that, like, at the end of the day, you're still a nerd. We're all nerds. We all geek about the same things. We all sit in the same theaters. We watch the same things. And yeah, we might have different opinions, we might have different favorites, but like I said, at the end of the day, we all are nerds. And I'll never understand why there are people who try to act like they're the popular girl in high school. Because, chances are all of us were not that person. I certainly wasn't that person. So I've also gotten the question too, of like, oh, you blown up so fast on TikTok, for example, how do you handle that? I don't. I just let it go. Like, okay, so I have numbers, and I've had people from my old high school. I know I'm kind of off on a tangent, I'm sorry, but
Oh no, you're fine. That's okay. Mine was bad anyways, right?
yeah.
Like, I had something really simple.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I get very passionate about this topic. It's the one thing that I just, I've had people from my high school come back to me who used to either you know, talk about me behind my back, or, you know, not like me, I have them come around now to me and say, oh, you got hot, or you did this, or now you're this. And I'm like, you know, fun fact, if you didn't like me before, you're not going to like me now. Because the reasons you didn't like me before have not changed. You know, I'm still very blunt. I say what's on my mind. You know, I'm very passionate about what I love. I'm still a nerd. And I'm still weird. So none of those things have changed. And you know, I think the only thing that has changed is that I've become more comfortable with myself. I've accepted that that's who I am, and I've just kind of grown into my own. And it is what it is. I just, like I said, whenever I catch myself in those moments when I'm obsessing over the numbers of, oh, I'm not doing well, or oh, this isn't going well, or this isn't, you know, blah, 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 blah. I always think back to where I was before. You know, like, I was not the popular person in high school.
Yeah, well, and it's a space where, you know, you can run into a lot of feelings of unworthiness. You
Yeah,
know, people,
absolutely.
kids can
Man,
be.
that's social media in general, and
Mhm.
modeling, and that's a whole different discussion that I'd love to get into one day. But
Always
yeah,
love to talk.
there are standards. There are standards, and it's tough to meet them all. There are a lot of pressures, and there are a lot of standards that you have to meet in order to be considered good enough. And I think that there's a lot of hardest things to do, but for different people. And I think that one of the hardest, aside from the ones I've mentioned, is being able to accept yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, then it's going to be really hard for you to sell anything online without filters or Photoshop. I know some people who Photoshop their entire face to look like another person. And then you meet them in person and you're like, who are you? And I know some people who Photoshop their entire bodies. And it's not even a thing of like, call them out, cancel them. No, like, are you okay? Because who told you that you had to do that? Like, what levels were you put to that made you stop and think, I have to look like this person, or I'm not good enough. I have to have this body, or I'm not going to get enough likes. It makes me worry about those people, you know? And I don't know. Again, I'm definitely ranting here, but like I said, this topic is one that I get very fired up about, because there's definitely, I wish that I could just, and I know that I'm new, but I sometimes wish I could just go up to veterans and just slap them in the face who are like that and just be like, hey, what are you doing? What kind of example are you setting? What are you leaving behind? You know, when you age out of your cosplay wisdom and you leave, right, and you're old, what did you leave behind? Are you gonna be happy that it's some corrupt, like, mean thing? Or would you rather look at it and be like, yeah, maybe their costumes aren't like 100% screen accurate, but they're really happy and they have a like a little family that they didn't get to have before. So it's like, I guess the moral of the story is, you know, what do you want people to say about you when you're gone? Do you want them to be like, oh my gosh, they were so inspiring and they were so helpful and kind and they, you know, they talked to me when no one else would? Or do you want to be the guy that people look at and go, yeah, that guy was a dick. Like, that dude was full of himself. He, you know, didn't talk to me. He didn't have the time of day for me. Because I've met people like that and it really hurts. Notes.
There's nothing. I mean, there's really, it's such an awful feeling, especially when you meet people online and then you have a forum for which to actually meet them, like you do at a con, because that can happen a lot. Like, you'll travel and then you're kind of in that, you know, it's the same people who are posting all this stuff online, like they're all going to the cons. So you meet them and you're like, oh, and they ghost you. they've got their little group of people that
They don't want to
do
talk
this
to
stuff
you.
with. They don't want to know you, no matter how much they talk to you online. And
Nope.
that's just it's really like I know, you know, that happens in other spaces. It's not just cosplay. I mean, it's just doesn't feel very adult. Like it just doesn't seem like the kind of behavior that we should be, you know, that we should,
Promoting
yeah,
it.
we should promote this. Like regardless of whether you have kids or whether, you know, you're just, you know, you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, whatever the case is, you know, that you pay to go to this event, and really it's sort of a social thing. I mean, yeah, you can keep to yourself or whatever, like that's not a big deal, but I'm not really sure. Like I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna talk about what's hard about it, but like what's easy about this? Is there anything that's like easy, or is it like it? I mean, it's relative, like it's for anybody. Like you don't have to put like your heart and soul into every single thing that you do, because these are things that you enjoy anyways. This is an appreciation for characters. So, but what I mean, is there really anything easy about it besides knowing that you really have a pretty good resonance with that character, with the fandom that you've come to enjoy?
It's probably going to keep kicking you and keep pushing you down, whether it be trying to learn something new and just failing, or people, or whatever, which, you know, the whole elitism thing is probably the biggest thing that I fight against if I can. Like, you know, as I grow and as I build, like that's the one thing that I never want to become. That's the one thing that I will always fight people on, because I'll never forget certain contests that I entered when I was younger, like when I first started. And, you know, looking at these people on this stage who have this persona, who are the judges, who you look at their builds and you think, oh my gosh, they're so good. Like, you know, and you're supposed to look up to them, and you go to talk to them and then they look down their nose at you, or they just don't have time for you, or they look at your cosplay and they're like, you know, I've met judges like that. And it's like, who do you think you are? I've met some judges who, you know, maybe I didn't get like an actual place award, but I got like a judge's choice award. And, you know, you're there and people want to take pictures of you on the stage and you want to talk to the people who are on the stage, but they want to rush you off because you're not good enough. You didn't place. So why do you matter? I've also had judges who have talked to me, who sit down and take the time to explain, like, yeah, this is how you get started on building wings. You know, this is what you do. You know, I've had some who are just so sweet and kind, and they're like, hey, here's my Instagram, you know, like I'll follow you back later, and if you ever need anything, just message me and let me know, and we can talk about it and I can help you. Those are the kinds of people that I want to be like. Those are the kinds of people that I wish existed more. Because you just have some who just don't get it. And like I said, I really just slap people in the face sometimes, be like, wake up, what are you doing? So yeah, I don't think that there's anything inherently easy about this, whether you decide to be on a public platform or not. You know, it's, again, if it were easy, I don't think it'd be worth it. And if it were easy, I don't think I would do it, because I've always loved a challenge. I've always loved pushing myself. And this is one of those things that you never really fully master, I don't think. You're always learning something. There's always something new to do and make and build and create. So I wish
Yeah.
I could tell you that making friends is easy. It's not. And you definitely can't trust everyone, so don't do that. Take it the way you would with high school, right? You would not trust everyone in your high school. Do not trust everyone you meet in the community.
Yes, and I really do like talking about doing hard things. I mean, that's a big Tom Bilyeu thing for me. And as you know, I am a fan of Tom Bilyeu. Got a lot of his comic book behind me, all the Neon Future stuff, the Hexagon stuff, everything that he does. And that was a relatively hard thing for him to do. Interesting story about him, should you ever be interested in learning more about Tom. But really, it's a great philosophy about being able to continue to learn, and this is really a good space for that. You know, if you're a multi-passionate person, which I am, and you do want to keep exploring and keep pushing yourself a little bit every day to try and do something that you weren't doing before, might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but it's still something that you're like, I want to give this a try. And cosplay really did that for me, to say, it'd be really cool if I could create a show. Like I've been talking about being on YouTube and doing things for a while, and it just never really materialized. I didn't have that medium for that I wanted to really talk about or get into. And this gave me that. So yeah, I love that. Love just really that there are, it can be a very good space. Not so much, not so great about the things that do go on, the dramas and the um, just the shady things that happen, which can happen really anywhere, not just in cosplay. But yeah, that's really, I guess, where we want to leave the show today. It's kind of a heady topic, but um, definitely something worth discussing. And there's a lot of things that I'm sure can be talked about. If you have anything you'd like to contribute, everyone, please leave a comment or hit the like button. And with that, Astro, would you like to take us out of the show?
I will do my best as always whenever it's my turn to end things. I feel like it's always an inside joke now with anybody who watches that I don't know what I'm doing all the time. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, for joining. If you've made it this far, congratulations. And thank you all so much for everything. And yes, so if you'd like to see more from us, everything will be down in the description. We have link trees. We have access to all of our socials across the board of the internet. And yes, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.